We are live again. We're going to continue our efforts in producing map content for the Light of Xaryxis for conversion with the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we've been building here. Give me a second here to check my signal real fast to make sure I'm coming through clean. I'm coming actually a little hot, so let's bring that down a notch. Yeah, it feels more on point. All right, cool. Hey, if you follow me on Twitter, I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter. So if you want to catch similar notifications in the future, follow me on Twitter. It's in the description, I think, or it's on my page at least. Let's see. Give me another moment here. I'm going to punch some signals for the shout-outs and the Discords that I hang out at. Hold on, that's the wrong... That's the right space. There, and like the Spelljammer Discord's been blowing up lately. The DMsGuild Creators Lounge and OBS, Indestructiboy's Designosphere and Durzazad Space, Treant Monk's Temple, and Josh at Dungeoneer Pack, Fry Minis, Zipperon, Clear It Corner, and let's see what we got. Rich Mary, and that's our retinue. So hey, those are the places I hang out on Discord. If you know any of those names, find me. I'm there. So let's see. Let's rearrange our stack here real quick. Who am I? I'm Phil Kearney. Hey, I build PDFs that publish on the DMs Guild for 5e gap filling supplements. You can check in the description down below. There is a link to DMs Guild. There's a slew of my products that are there for you to take a look at for free. You can read them cover to cover, the entire preview for you to take a look at just how I design stuff, the kind of paintings that I do, the kind of mechanical work that I like to do. Most of the stuff down there are variant spell point rules like spell point warlocks, providing solutions for how the artificer works, like ranger and artificer have mechanics that you can spend spell slots to refresh abilities that they have prior to long rests. So we had to, the Wizards hasn't updated the rules about spell points since they released it. So that the list of products down below covers all those gaps, provides a lot more variant rules for you to follow, and it's just basically a good idea for you to, a good way for you to see how I do. So hey, Hornetico. So this is the book cover that we designed for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that will be publishing on the DMs Guild as soon as we can get the thing finished in layouts and artwork. Adam Hancock is currently editing the work, and it's been a fantastic experience. Here's the map that we are currently working on for today. We've got a 2-hour block, so I'm going to set a timer here. This is the underbelly to the Light of Xaryxis Citadel. So here's the top side that we had produced. Is that my, yeah, that's my reference over there. This is the Citadel that we had produced on previous streams. This is a 500-foot square. So the full Citadel in its square is a 1-mile space. We've talked about this in the previous streams on this playlist about how to, as a DM, engage with this at the 500-foot scale when your players arrive to start reckoning with the Elves of Xaryxis to save their world. So they provided us with the top side of the Citadel because that's where all their assumptions are. But since it's a plane, this thing's on a gravity plane that runs through here. Here's the top side Light of Xaryxis. Here's the topography for the top side. Here's the topography for the bottom side. And this is mostly inspired by the artwork that they actually put in the book. So when they put the art in the book, that led us to developing the underbelly, and we used that as an excuse to put forest down there so that there would be enough greenery to provide an ongoing refreshed oxygen to keep the air bubble fresh with clean air for a population of about 6,000. So way it works out is a 1-mile square full of forest of things that are going 50 feet or taller in height can populate can provide oxygen for a population of 10,000. You can see this on the Rock of Brawl, which is like 3 miles and like 1.5 miles wide. Its underbelly has more than 1 mile worth of forest, and its population is listed at 10,000. So we know that we know that the pacing for forest versus person, that's your ratio. So with the Light of Xaryxis being smaller, they nowhere in the adventure tell you how many people are actually on the Citadel of Light. But given the amount of force that we can realistically cram into the underbelly of the structure, feels like about 6,000. So it's it fills up. Well, let's take a look at it real quick. Well, now I'm legit curious. Here's the color that we've been doing, right? So we're going to take that chunk there, copy paste, and drag it to here. And we're going to take this piece here. Sorry, this is a tangent. I'm just kind of curious. Oops. Here. Maybe I'm short. Let's Tetris this shit a bit, just to see how we can make it fit, right? That's not the actual Tetris song, but that's the one I'm singing. There and there. Not quite half. We're looking at about, what is that, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 by 7 is 42. So they could probably maintain a population like around 4 to 5,000. That's still in the town range. I'm okay with that. There's some topside for. Oh. Yep, no, I got it all. Yep, I'm content with that though. Fun mental exercise. So, okay, great. So let's continue our work with the stone. Is this the proper color for stone? Yes, it is. We're going to grab that. We're laying stuff in here. Let's just get back into it. We got about we got time to go. We got about 2 hours of morning stream here. I've got my coffee mug. Hi. And yeah, so we'll stream for a couple hours this morning, and then we'll have family time here at the Kearney Estates. So I shan't be streaming for the rest of the day once we're done here, and I'll be back bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on Monday morning to continue. Probably this, maybe not. I don't know. I've for the Eberron Cemetery that we've been working on, I've just about got all of the opened graves line art complete, and then I'll be able to work cobblestones. And even though I'll only be on stream here today for a little bit, I'll have a decent amount of time for me at home off stream for me to continue work. And I feel like I want to work on my Eberron map today, but I definitely wanted to do some cartography here with y'all for the Xaryxis. Man, I really appreciate the crowd that's been showing up and checking out my work. I had my all-time top view count yesterday at 75. I've never had sorry, it's 74. Just missed the mark. I've never had 74 people check out my content in one day like that. So it's I very much appreciate how folks have been building momentum with me and helping this grow. To that point, if you can like and subscribe, share. I've got 117 followers. I need subscribers. I need 1,000 of them for YouTube to monetize me, and I've got 784 hours accumulated of watch time so far, and I need 4,000 for YouTube to monetize me on top of the 1,000 subscribers. So if you can, if you're liking what you're seeing, just let me run around in the background and ramble so you can help me accumulate hours. It would honestly be appreciated. It's kind of gutter trash of me to be like that, But the only way for YouTube to recognize that people actually value this content is if it gets viewed and streamed. And any effort y'all can help throw in that direction is super appreciated, and thank you, because I'm going to keep doing this. I've got products I want to launch, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone build out a full role-playing PDF on stream before, which is what we're attempting to do here. And so I just want to make sure that this is something I'm going to be able to sustain and continue doing by continuing to accumulate momentum. So your efforts help in that greatly. And I post all my books 100% free preview. So just supporting me here on the channel is encouragement for me to keep doing it and to keep posting work for y'all. So time management really is key to solid workflow. I barely have any form of organization, and it slows down everything. Hell yeah, dude. Well, you gotta really get yourself into producing enough content or a large enough scale for you to be able to start actually observing where the gaps in your workflow are at. I mean, maybe you're starting to already intuit this for yourself, but it's taken a number of 40+ page products for me to be able to recognize where I need, where my sinkholes are in production quality, and I'm still sussing out a lot of that stuff. But I've talked a lot about workflow improvement on which assets to produce first, what I know is going to fatigue me during the workflow and the production process. So trying to bend what I work on when to complement where I'm going to become fatigued versus what I'm excited about. That's I think that's been a really big that's been a really big step in my own process, to be able just to maintain the endurance to keep showing up every day and just keep producing content, period. So useful stuff there. Figuring out where where your choke points are that slow you down, and what you can do for yourself to because everyone has their own psychology. I can explain, like I talk about doing the book cover first, because you don't want to hate your book cover in the process of waiting for the product to be released. But some other people may find working on the book cover last is a good way to brag about, hey, this book is done, all we got to do is finish this book cover. That's a viable approach if you can maintain strength and momentum to get the product out as fast as possible after the quality has been locked in. So anyway, ramble mode. Hey there. We're already off and rambling today. We're doing great. This is going to be a good stream. I can feel it. I've been fiddling with this. I don't think these contour lines are super useful. I think here on this map, I'm actually starting to wonder if I have too many lines, if I did away with this, does that improve the product? Actually, no, it doesn't. So I hadn't actually tried that yet. So I wanted to check that out, but I don't I'm pretty happy with the line art as it sits, but when I drop in the color, it's not quite hitting the button that I want in my heart. So I've been thinking about dropping the opacity of the color for the contour lines, and dropping the contour coloring on the lines, so it fades back heavy like that. But then adding another layer in, dropping in a darker like this, so that there's more contrast moving around like this. The further down, away from the center of the structure, the darker it gets, like that. I'm kind of liking this effect. Now I can de-emphasize the line art on the color version, and I can control where the lighting goes on the piece more easily like this. So I'm kind of liking this. You know, I've got like that feels pretty damn good. Like the further towards the edge of the structure, the darker the shadows get, but further in the shadows are lighter. I think that's an interesting design space, but I'm not quite ready for it yet. So I'm going to continue this topography and all the effects that we have as listed. And okay, good, that looks right. And live is good. And I just got a ping. I want to see what we got going on here. I might boot. Excuse me. Sorry, doing an update with the gal, figuring out what's going on. We got things going on today, and we got we got a bunch of mundane stuff. Let's just be honest. We got a bunch of mundane stuff we need to do. Honeydews and the word I'm looking for is chores. Of course, chores. Everyone loves chores. That's where I always do the cover first along with some of the other art in order to help me get a solid understanding of the project, sort of blending between concept and refinement. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Once we actually get the layouts done on this and we know where we need to put spot art throughout the document, it's a 97-page document, so we're probably going to have 50 illustrations overall, including diagrams and charts. Plus just raw illustrations inside the document itself. So I'm guessing we're going to probably have actually like 40 illustrations that we're going to end up populating the book. I'll be happy to be wrong because that's a fuck ton of art. But if that's what's needed, then that's what I do. So once we get the layout done, we know what our pages are actually looking like. We'll be able to have an accurate assessment of how much art are we going to have to actually punch into this thing. And then you'll be able to see the workflow process of being able to punch out a number of pieces at the same time. You can actually see a sneak peek of that in the Elemental Key playlist that I have on my stream, where I built all the artwork for the Elemental Key book. That Elemental Key book, by the way, is in the bundle down below. That I have, and it's and everything else in that bundle is like a 36% discount, so it's pretty sizable. But you can flip through that book again. You can read the entire thing because I published it, and you can see all the monk illustrations that we produced to put in there. But the playlist that I have for the Elemental Key book, I went through and built all those pieces. Like I did all the sketching throughout the entire book, and then I did the line art throughout the book, and then I did the color for the whole book. So like I did it in waves, and I have to push through the entire book in pieces because it's happened more than once now that while I'm in the middle of illustrating a book, I'll evolve. So I get better at doing color work somewhere in the middle of the project. So the stuff that I built first doesn't look as good as the stuff I'm building last. So if I were to start the project and just color hypocritically, that's what I'm doing with this. I'm doing what Donnie Don't does with this particular mapping process, which is I'm doing all the line art for the maps. I'm doing this map. I do the line art for this map, and then I'm doing the color for this map, and then I'm moving on to the next map. That is not necessarily how I want to do it. And when I get into the illustrations, I'm going to have to do all the sketches, then all the line art, and then the color flats, and then the detail work for all of the pictures all at a time, so that I'm working in a wave, so that if I do evolve in the middle of the process, then I can go back in my current step where I evolved. Like if I end up evolving while I'm doing line art, then I can loop back around and get that same evolution for the other pieces that didn't benefit from those revelations during the process. So I can have all pieces be at the same speed without having to lose too much time for the better quality pieces that I'll be producing for the rest of the project. So I can update everything and then go back through. Like flats, like sketches and flats. Like flats is sketches for color. You've got your like rough sketch for your line art, and then that gets refined into final line art. And then you put in your color flats for what the basic colors should be, and that's kind of like your sketching. That's like your sketch art for the line art. It's your color sketch, and then once that gets locked in, then you start layering in detail, color detail and texture on top of that. And I mean the Scaver Night art that we did here on stream 2 weeks ago is if that's any indication, this project's going to take a while to finish illustrating. So I'm struggling to figure out how I can continue producing good color art without requiring 40 hours per piece. Like that is super critical that I continue to up my game in my production speed so I can keep creating books worth of art without having to spend a year just on the production process. It took in the core mechanics book that I have linked down below, the 5 color mana spell point variant rule core mechanics. There's like 65 illustrations in that book, and I slammed that out in 2 months. So that is like literally finished one piece per day, and it was just ridiculous breakneck speed that I was working at through that project. And basically I just stopped sleeping for a month is how I got that done. But I think I can do better this time around. So I think the silhouetting process that I have, the blacks like the outline, the black silhouetting process, I think that is a stronger method of production in general, where I block in the silhouette shape of the subject matter in the illustration, and then I layer in block color and then detail that color. I think that is a faster, and I think it's proving to be a better process for me. You can see that in the tokens that we've been producing in stream here. You can check the Spelljammer playlist from last week, and you'll see token production. And we still have, I think we still have 4 creatures to finish tokens for, and then we start in on the ships. And we get I think there's 15 ships that are in the Spelljammer Adventures in Space. And then we add, I think we add another 5 of our own. So it's like 20 some odd tokens that we need to create for ships in general. And we need to create those tokens because we can't steal assets from 2nd edition because this is a paid product. So we have to produce all of our own assets. And then on top of that, I want to be able to make sure I have my own visual language for folks to understand what our how we're approaching combat and exploration TM in Spelljammer. So I need to build all those token assets for myself, which becomes something useful for people to have an excuse to pick up the book. So I can also set all those tokens as separate stock art that I can then bundle with the core book to help spur sales as an art coupon. Because I'm always thinking about bundles. Always thinking about the bundles. Bundles make you money. Just bundles sell. Period. It doesn't. If it's a smart bundle, if it's a thematic bundle, if it's a bundle that has fun work in it, it's gonna sell. So I'm always on the lookout for something I can add any of my books to, because it just ends up benefiting everybody involved. Anyway, marketing talk. I tend to not spend more than 2 or 3 hours on a piece of art a maximum. So I usually don't even consider working in steps that way. Well, if you have a book that has 20 illustrations in it, you might change your mind. Because it really isn't like going from piece to piece to piece to piece, like from start to finish. That is a much harder grind, I find, anyway, for myself. And as you start to evolve into larger projects, you may find this is true. So just keep an eye out to see how well it resonates with you as you continue working. But if you get caught inside of a particular piece that, like, you're having logistic issues, or like you're having perspective problems or whatever, if that is just one piece in a larger workflow, you can just sidebar it and push it back a couple pieces so that you don't lose morale. Morale is like the hidden hit points of art. Like, you absolutely do not want to lose morale in your project. So anything that you can do that allows you to punt, shift focus, or reorient your efforts so that you aren't getting quagmired in this one particular piece. It's the same thing as the book covers. Like, if you get bogged down in a piece that's challenging you, it can destroy your workflow for the next 10 pieces that you need to produce in the next 2 weeks. So just maintaining that awareness of how emotionally fatigued or physically fatigued you're getting from the different pieces of the project. That's something that when an artist gains awareness of that, they can control their easel space a lot easier, so that they can stay strong and keep momentum going. But I'm not trying to talk down at you, Hornetico, at all. This is just some of the philosophy that I've developed over big projects. Anyway, like obviously all the spell point mechanics that I have linked down below are projects I built. But like the Odyssey anthology, that was 30 illustrations for separate islands, like 30 islands, 30 island illustrations that all had specific details. Like this, like I had to basically map out inside the illustration, like where the different hot points for that adventure was, or what's the focus of this particular adventure, and that is what I need to be illustrating. Like, depending on, like, the size of the island had a lot of variance, and so the angle of perspective that I had for the island, I could change that around a lot depending on what the emphasis of the adventure was for that particular piece. So it allowed me a lot of variety in the kind of content that I was working on, but I still had to go through that same workflow process of punching through the entire work. And 30 illustrations is certainly not 70, but it's still fatiguing. So that project, the Core Mechanics project, Knights and Tricksters has, I think, 20 illustrations in it. The Elemental Key has 15 pieces in it. So this and the Eberron Adventure are the two next big benchmarks for me. So I haven't 75 pages is the largest book that I produced on my own. And both the Spelljammer Adventures in Combat and Exploration, as well as the Crystals of Mabar Eberron Adventure, those are both 90 plus pages. So both of them. So I'm doing two 90-page plus books at the same time right now, and that's actually really healthy for me because they're completely different genres. So it lets me bounce back. You see me here if you check my stream history, you can see I keep bouncing between different projects. And so whenever I tackle whichever project it is that I'm tackling that day, my energy and enthusiasm is higher for that project because I had an opportunity to, like, say, gain some victories here and liking how this workflow is going for Light of Xaryxis. So that just makes it exciting for me to go back into the cemetery and the Eberron maps to develop those out, because I'm inspired to continue production. So, your mileage may vary, but hopefully it doesn't too much. When you start working multiple projects at the same time like that, if you decide to curse yourself with multiple projects. I did not intend to have multiple projects like this stacked up on me. We had ran into a stall on the Eberron adventure. We just fell into a production choke point for a little while, and so there wasn't as much progress being made on it than I had the bandwidth to handle at the time. So I had already had the In Command project up and running with another team for the squads and armies. And but during that lull, the Spelljammer dropped, and when we developed all these rules from Descent into Avernus with the vehicle rules there, a couple, like in June, I think, and then Spelljammer came out in August. So once Spelljammer dropped, we realized immediately that, oh my god, all the vehicle mechanics that we've been developing for Descent into Avernus with the Infernal War Machines, those all work with Spelljammers. So we're like, well, there's no reason for us not to just place the rest of the command project on hold and just kick out the Spelljammer piece specifically, because that's, everyone's hot to trot for Spelljammer when it came out. And so it made sense for us to start that workflow. And of course the project takes freaking ever to produce. So it'll be out, I'm hoping, in March, maybe April. And then at the same time, the Eberron adventure will probably be dropping in April as well, which means I have 200 pages of production that get freed up as of May, my birthday month, yo. So I'm hoping that I'll have I'll have the manuscript for the Martial Powers book finished in March as well, and it's like 90% of the way there already. So we're doing really well with the Martial Powers project. But I'm hoping to have that officially off to edits in March, so that I can get that back in April for when these projects fall off my plate and go into publication. I can take my birthday week and just start doing hard production for the Martial Powers book. And my God, I'm excited about that project. So that's the third project that I'm technically working on, but it's slow cooking. It's such a slow cook. I'm only putting like maybe 3 hours a week into it, and most of that's on stream on Monday lunchtime. But I also like I added 6 new powers yesterday because I was inspired to add more of them. I started adding social challenge combat, powers. Like if you use an insight check against, like if you are targeted with an insight or perception skill check. If they're within 60 feet, you automatically know who's making the observation, and you can choose to use a reaction to deal psychic damage equal to the die roll, the result of their skill check. So that's like an anti-party, anti-soiree tactics. Like if you're at a diplomat party or whatever, and you don't want people trying to snoop in on the conversations that you're having with, say, the third principle of the Tsar, for instance, if we're talking Eberron, then if you have I forgot what I called it. I don't want to look it up, but basically it's an aura that you create for yourself that you can sustain with concentration or lock to permanize. But while that's active, you're aware of anyone that's paying attention to you, and if you don't like them, then again you can use your reaction to deal psychic damage to them. And it doesn't have to be lethal damage. You, like in D&D, you can choose to do lethal damage or not. So at this party, you can hit somebody with a psychic blast for having eyes on you too much, and it can just knock them out, or drop their their temporary hit points down to 0, so they become fatigued, and people just think that they got drunk or something, and that's how they play off. But that's a fun little, I have a couple of powers now that play inside that social pillar as a combat space for you to be able to fatigue each other's hit points. So, like if you're like if you are interrogating, like if you're using the intimidation skill, you can spend mana to deal psychic damage on top of the intimidation effect that you're dealing. So it's not even an attack roll; it's just a skill check. So it's just a fun way to bend the combat experience that martial characters have, but to give them more purpose and effect outside of actual combat, but still making it feel like they're a martial character. I think that social combat feeling is a fun way to go to explore that space, both like reactions, defenses, and active offenses. Because there's so many exploits inside of the martial power system that lets you amp up your skill checks on things, or to temporarily gain proficiency with a particular type of skill to help facilitate you exploring, and during the social pillar to have a wider skill set than what a fighter normally would have. But so building in like pseudo combat options on top of. It's like it's like a barbarian is punching his way through a conversation. Like literally punching his way through a conversation. It's kind of funny, but that's the design space that we're in right now for the martial power system. So we'll be looking at that on Monday, because I've got a 3-hour block reserved for power conversions and converting subclasses, and I'm hoping that we can glean some interesting insights from the different subclass, like fighter, barbarian, and rogue subclasses, to stress test the martial power system to see how well it can fake existing subclasses, and when we find that it can't, what aspects of that subclass is the martial power system not hitting the flavor notes on, and what powers can we create as additional options to choose to then be able to hit that flavor. Like the tactician's assessment ability to be able to start gleaning statistical information about a target that you're observing is a great example of where you would want to have that observation aura defending you against, having people check you out too much. Like, eyes to yourself, buddy. Take some psychic damage. I kind of actually like that a lot. That's a lot of fun. Anyway, ramble, thunderclatter, boom, boom, boom. I could potentially keep the dark lines on this if I have a darker shadow down here. That's also worth exploring. But I think I'm happy with how all of this is sitting. So I'm officially, at this point, working over that way. Like this side is done for now. So now I can come back over and I can continue work on this bit. I mean, I've already made progress over here, but I'm officially content with the left side of this butterfly for the time being, until we loop back around and continue adding additional details and again modify the lighting that I was just talking about. But I'm liking these stones, man. This is fun. I never realized how much I would love doing production cartography. Everything that I've done until now has been focused on alternate subsystems, like player-facing subsystems that me as a DM would like to see in games, and then like alternate spellcasting mechanics, which are both player and DM facing, but they're all subsystems, mechanical subsystems. They're not actual like visual-facing content, like in-game content. So both the Eberron Adventure and the Light of Xaryxis conversion are the first two projects that I'm literally building assets to be on the game table, and I can't believe I've gone this long in my life in role playing without actually producing. I'll take that back. I have 4 black and white maps that I produced for the Chronomancy Adventures in Chronomancy book that I did with Matt Whidbey and Ryan Langer back in 2018. But those are just simple black and white maps on top of some like a social encounter with a dragon, or a combat exploration encounter with phase spiders, or a combat encounter with a lich in his lair, and what was the last one? Oh yeah, and then a social encounter with night hags in Avernus. So those are the only 4 maps I've ever produced, and maybe when I'm bored, I'll show those off. But you can just go pick up Adventures in Chronomancy. I did not publish that one, so it's not 100% preview. I cannot guarantee that the teams that I collaborate with, if it's not my project, that it's going to be full preview. So when those projects crop up, I should probably extract the pieces that I have for myself and make sure they're available for people to see someplace. But anyway, that's just how I roll, making things. I like to make books I can reference in other books, like as far as like say maintaining focus on multiple magic devices during spell jamming. We call it focus. Which doesn't necessarily doesn't conflict with maintaining concentration on a spell, because that's something that we encourage in that system a lot. Like pilots maintaining, like if they're a half casting or a subclass casting warrior type character that's piloting the ship, so they can use their attacks as like ram options. I like to make sure that you can maintain spells while you're doing these things. So we had to develop a little unique mechanical language. But like if you're using my spell point variant rules, my stacking concentration system, like you need to know, like maintaining concentration or focusing on the helm has the same DC modifier as maintaining concentration on a cantrip. And like if you're maintaining concentration on multiple devices, like a helm, an orrery, a fargab, so that you can move, see things at incredible distances, and communicate with other ships at incredible distances. You're maintaining focus on a number of objects at the same time. So the stat concentration system that I have allows you to maintain concentration on multiple cantrips at the same time. And you can increase the amount that you can maintain concentration on as you gain level. So having just a sidebar about, hey, if you stat concentration like we do in the mana systems, then be aware that these all count as cantrips. Like that's a very simple little plug, but I can actually reference the page inside the spell point variant rules where we talk about cantrips, and then in the free preview, you can then flip to that specific page in the preview. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And now you're looking at my mana books because I referenced it as a free document for you to review on DMsGuild. And if it ends up being something that you think is cool, it's not unusual for me to see somebody purchase it. So that's, anyway, ramble. I'm in mega ramble business mode. Sorry about that. Not everyone's very interested in hearing these things. But it's something I'm constantly thinking about because, again, these will be published books, and I know a lot of people won't have to pay for them at all to look at them. So I have to remind myself that this is a specific goal that I have, so that I'm excited that people are looking at the content without necessarily paying for it, but realizing it's part of a bigger picture. And if I'm going to end up, like, say, building into Patreon, then this is kind of the Patreon model, except that, you know, I'm publishing it for hard dollars on DMsGuild that Wizards gets a good 20% chunk of. So, and of course OBS gets 15% of the cut as well. No. OBS gets 20%, Wizards gets 30%, and then I get to split the remaining 50% against my team. So it's not big dollars that I'm earning here, and then again, I'm voluntarily letting you take the content at no cost. So I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a smart business model, but it's the one that it's the one that has the most integrity for me. And like I keep saying on stream, integrity really is everything. And it's going to become more and more valuable as society continues to bend further into monetization of everything. Hey, timely timer. Anyway, ramble mode. Let's just keep working this, and then coming back in and filling in the gaps. I think I'm going to work top down. I'm liking this. I'm enjoying this light effect that we're working on here. I think it's a lot of fun. This forest doesn't have to be great because it's going to be part of the faded color, and then I can redo it. Might not be the best approach, but it feels like it can work. So we're figuring things out together here. I don't necessarily know what this is supposed to look like in the end. I just keep getting whispers from my muse about, you know, what's the next step to take, and just trust that if I keep taking the right steps, I'll end up at the right place. because that's how walking works. That's rambling, as Led Zeppelin would put it. Yeah, that feels pretty good. We'll do like that. We can smudge this all in like that. Now that I know that I'm going to work another layer, that I'm going to fade this one down and work another layer on top of it, I'm like a lot less motivated to be so perfect and precise with these rocks here. And I'm concerned that there's going to be a notable difference from side to side. So I'm arguing with myself about, hey, you don't have to try so hard. You're going to do all this over again anyway. And I'm like, but trying hard is what got us to the point where we know we wanted to do that. I need to remain consistent between both sides. And so there's an argument going on inside of me about how much effort I'm focusing in the here and now on this particular phase of the art. And so I was like, how hard do I want to try? It's kind of obnoxious, actually. But yeah, I need to have that change in elevation be more clear by having darker further away from the middle and lighter more towards the middle, so that you'll be able to, your eye will be able to make that connection for you directly, even if you yourself don't specifically notice it as an effect. Your eye will naturally pick up on it and lead you in the direction of the contrast of the darkness against, the contrasting of fading from light to dark. And what I'm not taking into account, what I need to take into account, and I haven't yet, is in the coloring process. Let's get this lined up proper. We'll do it like that. That's the best way to do it. What I haven't taken into account is that we're going to drop a bunch of black behind this thing in the color mode, because we're going to have stars and stuff, like the space clustering, like stars as a backdrop. Actually still look decent, but it's going to require a little bit of cleanup. Actually kind of like that more. It looks pretty damn good. I thought this was going to be like, oh yeah, Phil's right, there's a problem here, but no, it actually looks pretty freaking cool. So far so good. So what? That's how the actual footprint will be when we actually get this thing done. And that's, once we get the color on the top side, you will. There's no color at all on the top side right now, but like all the other color maps, I have to have a star field and like astral smudge and stuff like that in the background. But hey, oh my God, hey Gittin. I did not expect to see a Hitting Dave on my stream this morning. Man, it is good to see you, my dude. Holy Hannah. Just stopping by briefly for support. God bless you. I really appreciate you, man. I don't know if you've seen me post the book cover to this like a billion times or not, but I'll just brag it up again for a second since you're here. But my God, this is going to be a cool book, man. This is a cool book, and if you're into Light of Xaryxis at all, Hitting, when this thing is done, you got to check it out. I mean, obviously the whole thing you can look at the whole thing for free because that's how I roll. But I am particularly pleased with this production. This is this whole command system that I've been building out is just really flipping the 5e game mechanics on its head for me. And oh my God, that looks cool. Oh, that looks super dope. I don't think it's going to be useful at all, but I like that. I just think it's neat. Anyway, man, Hitting, it's super cool to see you, dude. What a wonderful surprise. Thank you for being here, man. Get out of here. Don't let me hold you up. Hitting is for those that are watching at home. If you check in the link down below, the core mechanic, the Mana core mechanic books that I have. Hitting Dave is my primary editor for most of those books. So, yeah, freaking what a soldier, because I'm not easy to work with. I don't know. Maybe I'm a pushover, but I feel like I want to do things the way that I want to do them, and Hitting Hitting's a great example of a good editor. Is like, no, you can't actually do that. That doesn't make any sense. Or like this is like word salad. You have to redo it. Like Hitting made me rewrite the entire book. It's like I don't know what I can do with this. It's broken. You have to do this better. And I'm like, better? Hold my beer. Like 2 months later, it's like, is this better? He's like, yeah, I can work with this. Like I literally had to rewrite the entire book. And by God, it's so much stronger as a result of it. So this is me saying thank you, in the most Phil way I possibly can, I guess. Man, oh man, I hope you're doing well, Dave. What a delight. Wow, now I'm just extra pumped and stoked. You know, I'm kind of wasting my time over here doing this stuff, but it's grabbing my attention because you're working in this black field. So I guess it's relevant. I may as well do it. I mean, I'm going to have to eventually, right? Boobity doop doop, doop 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 in me. Meow. Hey, Happy New Year's for my realtor. God bless you. I love you, Ivan. Thanks for being out there. So much smudge. Too much smudge. There we go. Fix all that. You know, I bet I could be smarter than this. Like that. That worked. Sometimes I'm dumb. Again, I can't say it often enough, man. You got to find yourself good editors. Find yourself good editors and treat them well. And the book that you're going to produce is just going to be so much better. Have to invest in somebody pushing back at your ideas and making you think through the different decisions that you make. Yeah, just huge game changer. Just has to be done. Always worth the money spent. Rico, you know what to do. Keep smudging. Keep smudging, sir. I don't know why this stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I need to actually be doing this cleanup right now. If it's the most productive thing I can do, but it's what the muse wants me to do. So here I am, performing the task as commanded. Yeah, this is turning out well. No regrets. It is, yeah, you're right. It is a waste of time because I'm going to do another layer. But it's nice to it's nice to see how this stuff is sitting compared to. I can just be belligerent out here right now. It is good to see how this stuff is going to push out, or how it sits with the black background. So I think I'm happy with where we're at. Just need to fix this up a little bit, since I have new revelations about what it is exactly I'm looking at here. This is an example of a workflow process step that I hadn't realized I needed to take, but I'm thankful that I realized it this early on in the process, that I need to have that black backing for me to see how the lighting, the colors that I'm choosing are affecting not only the lighting of the object, but how it sits in the background against against the background. So. Which is why I like to like once I finish page layout and I can pick a background, like a page background, like either color or like a wash of some sort or a stamp, just to sit on the actual page itself. Checking my shit. Cool. Once I've chosen that just becomes my background for all the illustrations that I do. So when I'm doing the interior art, I like to export the page that I'm working on from the layouts program into just as a PDF or a PSD directly into Photoshop, for me to then just like literally like open up a new layer and then just paint on the page, so I can literally see like how close is this guy's hand getting to that block of text in this paragraph, and then I can actually like physically move the text inside of the illustration just to push the art, just to push the text out of the way for me to finish my art piece, and then I can upload. And then when I upload the image back in, I can go into the layout program and rearrange the words in the layout program to match up with where I rearrange the words in Photoshop, so that the document, so the pages are all customized to complement the artwork that we put into the pages, and the artwork is designed to complement the text that's on the page. So it all will become well, what it's supposed to do is end up as like a singular idea on that page, or whatever the content of that page is discussing. Both the text and the illustrations will help reinforce each other, so that there's more of this narrative thing going on. Anyway, that's the idea behind it anyway. That is the idea. Alright, I'm going to stop messing around with the border, and I'm just going to get back into the stone. Papa was a rolling stone. You know, wherever he laid his hat was his home, but when he died, all he left us was alone. Ain't that the truth? I still love you, Dad. He's dead, but I still get to talk to him. And sometimes he pings me back. I can feel it. It's kind of cool. He's like, no harm. I was like, well, there was actually a lot of harm, but it was part of a process, and I respect that. I respect the role that you played in my life. Thank you. I could not be as mighty as I am without your contributions, Father. How are we doing over here? Coming along. We're coming along. Now I'm anxious to get this first phase done so we can start layering in those deeper colors and fading out the line art a little bit and all the bloody blah I was talking about earlier. Why is my face off screen? There you go, son. Hi. It probably means that I'm not zooming in enough. There. That'll help. Excited? See, when I just realized that I need to reduce the opacity on this layer of color that I'm working on, and then redo all the rim shading. The initial timely timer. The initial moment was, ugh, I have a lot more work I need to do, but it was almost immediately replaced with, oh my god, this is going to look so much better when I actually put in that effort and get it done. So it's like there's like this eternal argument between like this laziness of like inertia grinding to a halt on, do I have the legs to be able to keep soldiering through this particular piece? And it's almost and at some point it always happens that I fall in love with whatever it is I'm working on, and I'll be willing to dump as many hours as necessary to make it look like I know it can be. And it's just the parallels to parenting is something I'm acutely aware of. And I think that's funny. Because you refer to your art as your baby so often, and it's like, yes, I am willing to lose sleep for this project. Yes, I am willing to lose food for this project. Yes, I am willing to suffer emotionally for this project. God, I love it. It is my baby. That's why so often, like that you may have heard this expression that the artists are married to their work, and it's their spouse that is the mistress that they escape their work to hide in. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. But I find it's true. Like I am utterly addicted, and it's impossible for me to not produce the artwork. Like the artwork must be made. There is no compromise on that, and so I have to silo my time between my wife and my mistress, but I get to hang out on the couch with my mistress, my wife. That's awesome. I love that stuff. I don't think she thinks the analogy is funny, but I think we got that from Sex and the City. It's totally true. She's always trying to drag me away. And guys like that kind of attention, you know? It's neat to feel the artwork competing against your relationship in a weird way, in a weird, potentially narcissistic way. It's flattering, and men want to feel flattered. Is what men want. Men want to feel like they're valued and high caliber, and that their time is valuable, and that a woman is or whatever they're interested in, guy or girl, is wants to compete for their attention. These are all trigger buttons in the male psychology for affection. So it's fun to see how artwork plays with that dynamic. I like it. Anyway, just observations I make. I'd say ambition is like a large, a really significant character trait to artists. It's not necessarily like the ambition is to make tons of money or to have high prestige. Well, let's be real. If you're a really good artist, that is prestigious. Like if you are a certifiable master of your craft, that is something that unto itself has gravity. That you can wield, like you can swagger with that energy a little bit, especially when you're posting stuff and you're on the forums and you know that the work is actually good. That's how so many artists build out from like working on AAA projects into having immensely successful YouTube or Twitch streams and large Patreon followings, because they're able to prove their mastery of their craft. And it attracts other people that are interested in that mastery as well, regardless of what their personality may be. If they have a great entertainment personality on top of it, then they're gold, just pure gold at that point. But yeah, the prestige of being a master of your craft has in their own circles as much weight as just being like rich, for instance. So. It's a little bit more subtle. But it's like artists are all self-made, and I think that's a really important distinction to make about success. And like you can like most of the multi-millionaires like $30 million and up, most of those people are either politicians that have used inside information and cheated themselves into wealth, or inherit their wealth. There are blessedly few people now that are able to, like, say, create Google and then as a result of that become a multi-millionaire. Like, most of that tech has already been built. I'm sure there's a dozen examples that will be able to disprove me in an instant. I just watched a documentary on the guys that created Instagram, for instance. No, Snapchat. Sorry, the guys that created Snapchat, and So they're just tech geeks, and that seems to be where most of the tech innovation and rags to riches stories come from. Is just tech geeks but they're artists. These coders, these people that program massive apps or platforms that end up exploding. They are production artists. They are people that have an idea. They construct the thing, and it's so useful that everyone gives them a piece of money for them to make use of this resource, whether it's through advertising revenue or an actual subscription model or whatever. But coders and software engineers, they are just as much artists, weaving text into motion is basically what they're doing, and I think it's fascinating. But all these people are self-made. Like, you have to have the idea, you have to have the vision to have a new idea, something innovative, and then you have to have the mechanical chops to actually realize it. A production studio can hire people with those skills to help fake it, but if you don't have the vision, you can't get there, and you have to be able to demonstrate that vision with at least rudimentary models of what it is that you're trying to produce. And I don't think there's a CEO. Like, I think all the like Zuckerberg, whether he stole Facebook or not or whatever, he had to have the mechanical chops to be able to actually do the thing. Like, he didn't just, like, the guys he stole it from didn't have the technical know-how to be able to produce the thing, so they lost control of it. Like, they seeded a lot of money to have the initial alpha version created, but in the end, because they didn't have any actual skill in the industry that they were investing into, they ended up losing control of their investment. And, sour grapes to you guys, but you were sticking your nose where you didn't know how to function. So, they were going to get burned. I'm sure they've moved on and have continued to evolve from there. That's a really good case in point. That, you need to know what you're talking about in the industry you're working in. That's actually an interesting point about how much Microsoft team has been hired into Wizards of the Coast right now to try to push this Unreal Gloomhaven engine. And I don't think any of these kids are RPG enthusiasts. I think they're interested in tech development, and that's not the audience. So I am really interested to see if they missed the flavor, and if they missed the point, and if they even understand what it is that they end up developing whenever it is we get whatever the hell it is that they're developing. But they're not gamers, so I don't know how this is going to end up how well it's going to actually end up resonating. That's like this is a big freaking experiment, and it's a huge gamble that Wizards is putting into this project, and it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. I hope D&D survives, because I love D&D. It's my narrative tool of choice, but I keep talking about Kickstarters, so we'll see what one D&D evolves into, and see if they have earned my attention or not to keep playing in their pool. But I think once the in command mechanics, obviously those are going to be on the DM's Guild, because give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and I built those tools specifically so that you could have a 1E experience with the 5E stories that they are publishing as adventures. I like to actually convert them back into open-ended adventures, 1E style. I don't think there's enough. The 5E audience has exploded so fast, they don't know any different. These story-driven adventures is the only exposure to published adventures that most of the 5E audience has, and it's a real shame, because there's such a there's the 5E adventure content that's being produced is such a variant from what I am familiar with over the past 30 plus years of DMing, like what an adventure is supposed to be, like what information is actually supposed to be provided in an adventure, and I feel 5e is just such a different creature. The narrative beats that are there is an interesting innovation to add into an adventure product, but I don't really feel like it's hitting the proper mark. They don't invest enough page to help lead the DM thinking process. Like what's like the metadata of the adventure is like there's not enough metadata in the pages for a DM to be able to start parsing out how they can bend, like how they can deal with variants and what happens if, like, there's a script, for God's sake, that you can actually fall off of. And that is such a weird experience for older editions of D&D. Like, older editions of D&D don't have scripts. They just have locations and the people that are the creatures that are in those locations and what those creatures are attempting to do in that location. Whether they're just random creatures eating garbage off the floor, or they're trying to dig out a mine, or they're trying to awaken a god inside of a trapped citadel inside of the structure. It goes from location to creatures to motives. That's the process. So everything in older editions was all location themed, and 5e is like going with this narrative element where they're kind of like reverse engineering it almost, and it's not stronger. It's a story that's designed to push you through an experience like an amusement park ride, but it's not an actual stronger adventure, quote unquote. Anyway, I'm obviously very opinionated, but I built those opinions over decades of successful DMing and like what makes for a fun experience and what doesn't, and being able to tell the difference of like I know this is something I can do something with versus I don't know what they're trying to achieve with this, and that is an argument that it's an ongoing fight inside the 5e game space for those that know and those that are new. It's like it's different experiences. It's interesting. It's really, really interesting. So, where are we at? Okay, great. So we have the initial line art here. We have the line art done. We have this initial sweep of the stone texture. So now I think I want to go back and drop the. What I am going to do. Black and white in color. So I'm going to now make a duplicate of the black and white section, and I'm going to pull. Well, not into trash. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to actually pull the black and white. I'm going to actually pull the black and white into the color frame so I can get rid of that black and white. Drop this off, and you can see now that we got the black and white art stuff here. And I can come back into here, and I can start messing with it. So let's open this up a bit. Turrets stay the same. Trees, we're going to fade the trees a bit. We're going to fade the trees down, I think, to 75%. So it's not so sharp in the eye. And then we're going to take the topography here, and we're going to drop that down. I'm actually going to conceal the edge, forest, stone. I'm going to hide the stone real quick. Go back to here. I'm going to drop this down to 50%. I think that felt right. So I can leave. So the black and white version, I can leave the black and white version as it is with its hard lines and absolute black white. But with the color piece, I can screw around with the opacity of the color. This is different than how I'm doing the Eberron maps. The Eberron maps, I'm leaving everything 100% black bold and then just layering in color underneath it. But there's a lot less. I feel like there's a lot less line information in those Eberron maps in general, and there's a lot more texture and color that's driving the environment. But this has a lot more activity going on with it. So I like the idea of messing with this line weight or the line opacity. So yeah, so dropping that down to 50%, that feels pretty good. And then when we come back in with the stone, we can take this and we could probably drop this down to, let's look at 50. Maybe 66. Yeah, let's go 66. That's actually pretty light. And now we can come back through with a heavier layer. Get rid of that. Actually, let's not get rid of that because we already started something. Yeah, so let's continue this this heavier darkness down here. Thinking things through real quick. That's a weird line. Man, I do like that. I think that looks really cool. So yeah, let's go with that. There I go, leaning my face in. I should bring the picture to my face, not my face to the picture. That's good spine. Posture is the word I was looking for. That's good posture. This is actually the effect I think I was looking for initially, but I didn't know how to get there, so I had to go through that whole process to figure out. Oh, this is how I can do that. God, this is looking cool. Look at this shit. God, that looks so good. Marvel, if you guys want to pay me $80,000 a year, I'll come do color for you. DC, you might need some help too. I don't think comic book artists make $80,000 a year doing color. I don't think that happens. I'm enjoying this. God, I enjoy doing this. I love coloring cartography. I had no idea how much I would love doing this. This is such a wonderful discovery for me. Like, if everything else blows up in my life, I could just fall back into just doing maps. I can just become a cartographer, man. I did not know. I had no idea I would enjoy this so much. It's so fun. Hey, Timely Timer. What is it? Oh my god, it's 11 already. Jazz McCrew, this day is shot by. Well, that's okay. We're gonna be back doing this Monday morning. We've got another half hour here left in production today, and then I'm going to jump off stream, and I'll be doing honeydews and squeezing in more production time. In between that, I'll be working on the Eberron map off screen later on today, once I get my homework done. So when I'm back, I'll be doing this Monday morning. I'll be developing the martial powers and doing the conversion project with martial powers Monday lunchtime. And then Monday evening will be focused on the Eberron map. And so if you've been following me along in the Eberron map development, you're going to see some significant jumps. God willing, you're going to see some significant jumps in what is going on in there? Oh, interesting. That's what's going on. Why is that so fudgety? It's because of the line art. Okay, I think I'm content with that. God. Look at that. That looks just focus on this area for a moment, because this is where we're developing it. But that's I think that's really freaking great lighting. So, whew, man, that's cool. I think we're building a cool thing here. I want to make sure I don't overdo it. Yeah, I really got to make sure I don't overdo it, because lighting is only as good as it has punch, and if it starts oversaturating the map space in general, it's going to lose its punch like quickly. So I need to really just rein it in and keep like really focus on keeping it towards the edges of stuff. So. That is a thing. You see, I'm breaking my own rules there. I think I can stick into that little joint in there, though. I think that's okay. I think that's a good exception to the rule. The help. Like, you got to break the rule occasionally, just so that you can have just a little bit more narrative emphasis. If that makes any sense. I just keep getting more and more excited about this piece the more I look at it. So fun. I tell you what, though, man, when we once all these command books are done and we start working on Descent into Avernus, redrawing the city of Elturel is going to be a pain in the ass. Luckily we had this as a starting piece, and this will end up paying us in spades. when we actually get to rebuilding Elturel into the 50-foot square grid that we have, or the 500-foot space down to the 50-foot scale. So that's going to be a big project, but I think it'll be worth it. Same with the town of Greenest in Flames, for the Horde of the Dragon Queen. We'll eventually get to that as well. Like once these command books are all published, we can basically go through every one of the adventures that Wizards has put out to date and convert them to the command system, so that, like, you know, so you can take command. Tagline. But that's the whole point of it, which is why we want to publish on the DMs Guild, because we want to convert WotC content. But once we're done with all of that, we can focus on our own stuff. Like at that point, we'll be able to decide, you know, am I still doing DMs Guild stuff, or is it time for me to transition out and start doing Kickstarters? But I think once I've finished converting all of the adventures that Wizards has, that it might be 2030 by the time I finish doing that. But God's willing, I'll still be alive and healthy enough to continue the work. But I think at that point, I'll have been able to prove that, you know, I've got enough mechanical chops here for me to be able to build out my own thing that's worth people kicking, you know. And by then, we'll obviously have a well-established format of how much of a bite is Wizards attempting to take out of content creators in general when they're creating content like that. And it should be a pretty clear path for me to understand where I need to go and what's the best moves to make. So, and by 2030, I'll be mid-50s, something like that. So I'll still be alive. I should still have full functionality. If I stay healthy, I shouldn't have like diabetes or nothing. So there shouldn't be, like, God willing, no cancer or brain worms or anything will shut me down before I finish all this work. But yeah, once I clear my plate of WotC conversion stuff, then I should have a very, very wide library of concept proofs. It's like, hey, you know, these are things that I've done. And now I want to do these sort of things on my own, like build my own ideas off of what we've learned from WotC. Like all these events, like Princess of the Apocalypse and Horde of the Dragon Queen, Dragonlance, Rise of the Dragon Queen, all these events, like Lives of Xaryxis here that we're working on right now, like working on how to convert all these adventures into a different mentality, I think is going to end up being incredibly valuable for us when we go about creating new content in general. Like that's going to be like custom made to specifically work with the command system, like as an integral component of performing the adventure, like focusing emphasis on having control of a guild, or like this town, you're responsible for this town. Like Test of the Warlords from the companion series of BECMI is something I've already gotten approval from. Even though it's set in Greyhawk, I've gotten approval from OBS for me to convert that using the command system. So once all the books are out, I can go back in and I can say, you know, if you're a high-level character and you're building a kingdom in this area, you can use Test of the Warlords with the in-command system to make it a 5e adventure that makes sense. Like currently 5e doesn't know how to deal with Test of the Warlords. It's all mass combat and and kingdom building and large-scale conflict. And 5e is not at all designed to do that stuff, but first edition, like BECMI, was designed to do that. So it had the tools to be able to run that kind of a campaign, and that was pretty much lost in the starting in 3e is when it started to fade out with the leadership feat, and then it was just completely expunged in 5e, because I think it was actually expunged in 4e. I think 4e is when they began the micro hero mentality, but 4e didn't do well. It had a lot of backlash from the community because of the licensing and how much of a change it was from 3E. It's on its own, like I keep saying, like in Gamma World, the 4E system for Gamma World is fantastic. But that is it's a very different game than Dungeons and Dragons. Like Dungeons and Dragons has its own gravity, like expectations of like how that feels, like how that beer pretzel fantasy combat simulator sort of game feels, and keeping that feeling is what keeps your customer base. I don't think Wizards knows that right now. So it'll be really interesting to see how they translate what they believe their market is into new products with 1D&D. Really, really interesting times. Like I got I got my initial D&D books on my birthday when I was 12 from a garage sale, and then my cousins moved into town, and they used to play D&D, but they had all stopped by when they showed up. They had chasing girls and cars and stuff like that, so they just stopped playing. But me, as a hopeless nerd with disabilities, had no car, had no girls, had only RPG books to keep me company. So I stayed into the hobby, to the nerd tier, like I am here now. And but when I got my cousin's book dump, they had picked up the second edition of Gamma World. So I had D&D and Gamma World were the first two role-playing books I had exposure to, and both of those were TSR products. And so I fell in love with Gamma World too, because it was a sci-fi version of D&D, but it was so different. Like its mechanics were so incredibly different from D&D. I'm like, oh wow, there is no like one way to do RPGs. There's like a lot of options, and that started making me think about alternate systems and like what is this role? Why is this role-playing game using these mechanics as opposed to these other mechanics, and what changed from BECMI into AD&D, and AD&D in the second edition? What narrative are they pushing now? But I never really looked at it from a homebrew, because there was so much content in those books back in the day. It's like, I don't need to homebrew, and I don't need to homebrew because I haven't tasted everything that they've already produced for us yet. And I was a bit of a completionist, so I was more interested in just consuming the content that was already there. It's like, let's just use the game the way that it was made and push that until, and to see where it takes us. And I never ran out. Second edition never ran out of content. Like, it was never ever even a question of like, am I going to burn out on all the official published content or not? No, you can't. There's just so much of it. And 3E was the same way. Like, I never had a need to homebrew in 3E because the Gestalt variant allowed you to pick up so much published content already, but there wasn't anything you couldn't do by just blending the official, like Savage Species, Epic Handbook, all the Splat books, coupled with Gestalt. Is like, you will never run out of character combinations. There's no character fantasy you can't fulfill, and that was kind of the game. That was the hidden game of third edition D&D. There's so much content here. What's the best way for me to use the content that actually exists to fulfill this character concept? Like, if I wanted to do a Jedi, there's like 15 different paths I could take between Incarnum, Vestiges, and just baseline prestige classes to be able to build a Jedi. Like, I never needed to make my own Jedi class, because there's just a ridiculous amount of 3E content that can pull that fantasy off already. Why would I need to build my own thing when the fun is taking the content that exists and bending it, kind of like what Cleric Corner does, like changing the flavor a little bit and taking the mechanics that already exist to be able to fulfill the fantasy that you're thinking about, like without having to homebrew anything. Never had that problem with 3. Never needed to homebrew anything there. Just there was so much. Why bother? But 5e is so different. Like 5e does not have that deep mechanical core base that people can pull from. Like it's almost begging us to homebrew for them. And that's just such a different approach. And I didn't do a lot of D&D in 4e. I did some Adventure League stuff, and I'm like, man, this is just meh. And so then I got into 4e Gamma World, and I just stuck there for a while. And then we got into Numenera and Cypher System stuff, and we played in there for a couple of years. And then we eventually got around to 5e. Once I had a chance to actually chew on it, I was like, I like 5e. I'm willing to DM for this. And then, immediately I get a bunch of hand raises. Like, yeah, we'll play in your game. So then I was, from then on forward, I was running 5e, and that was like, I think 2015 on. I only think it took a year for me to get onto the 5e bandwagon. But it really is a superior system. It is such a great system. It could be a lot. It could go a lot further than Wizards is willing to take it, but they're corporate gun shy. They're trying to bank on what they think is going to have the widest appeal, and lean into that broad appeal because they're by law required to seek out the fastest, easiest route to making money. So I think that's a big problem with corporations in general. Like that's a serious flaw in the corporate structure. Like I just don't think that shareholders should be the ultimate authority in what happens with a business, when so much of the business doesn't hinge on the interest of like, if your only interest in D&D is profit, like, get the fuck out. But that'll never be the dominant. That'll never be how it is. It is what it actually is, and we have to adapt inside of those tools, which is, again, why I think we have so much homebrew for 5e. They aren't willing to invest in the depth, the mechanical depth that 5e allows for, which is where all these command mechanics came from in the first place. Like, this mechanical depth is possible, but Wizards just isn't compelled to do it. There's not enough. There's too much development, too much time required to do these things, and not enough obvious interest from a wide base that it's even going to be worth their time investing in the production of these ideas. But these ideas absolutely work if someone's willing to invest it. I just think it's crazy that it's me. So I not to sing the same song too often, but it's just I continue to be amazed that it's like it's me that's creating these things. Like, I'm the one that found out. Like, I'm the one that got handed these ideas that this thing can work. My muse passed these things into my brain. She says, we have to produce these things. I'm like, wow, okay. This is awesome. It's like it shouldn't just be some guy, in his garage blowing out 5e mechanics into like the most epic shit ever. And it is, oh man, okay. I only have 15 minutes left, so let's change the beat. 15 minutes on the board. God, I love this. So gorgeous. I'm being sarcastic and snarky here real quick. I'm excited to see what Wizard of the Coast comes up with for the home base variant rule idea that they have for like characters to have a fortress or whatever, like their effort to have strongholds and like guilds and bases and stuff. Because I think it's just going to be them reprinting Acquisitions Inc. I don't think they're going to innovate anything. I think they're just going to recycle Acquisition Inc. and just make it like core, which is great. They should, but it's so mechanically thin. It's just laughable to me that like I doubt they're going to invest any more effort. I will happily eat crow. You can come back and you can spike me for this. I will happily eat crow if they add more mechanical depth than what's already in Acquisition Inc. when they talk about, you know, building a home base. It's so thin, and it just makes me excited about the guilds and kingdoms mechanics that we're building out into the next book. So we also have the squads and armies book that complements that, and most of those mechanics are like a deeper dive into some of the concepts that we have here in the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book, because the Spelljammer Exploration book was created. We started with squads and armies, and then we built into guilds and kingdoms, and then we built into Descent into Avernus, Infernal War Machine vehicles, which then evolved into Spelljammer, which evolved into Spelljammer Combat and Exploration mechanics about scaling things. But we were able to use these little pieces from the armies and the squads and armies and the guilds and kingdoms components. Like we could pull small pieces out of that and fold it into the Spelljammer. The Spelljammer motif, is that the right word? Maybe. Paradigm. And we'll use paradigm. I like that word. But then, so through all the testing that we did with Spelljammer, we found much more efficient ways to express how to command squads and armies. So now we get to go back and reverse engineer the Spelljammer project we built to then funnel back into the squads and armies and the guilds and kingdoms products. So I think it's really awesome that we just had this weird production process of leading us down that path that way. It's cool. So it's like if you grab if you don't have to buy it necessarily, if you at least read it. Once we start producing the other command products, you're gonna see a lot of similarities in design philosophies into like the siege weapon combat versus squad combat. Like there's a lot of similarities between those two mechanics. Like if you understand how this system works, you'll understand how the other systems work. And then you'll just see how all these systems are just variations of the same 5e mechanics that we're pulling out of the DMG and making those variant rules the primary rules that makes the command system work. But it's all still 5e. We're not building anything new. We're just remixing variant rules that are inside of there and adding a different narrative element to them to express them differently. Instead of just being character options, they become command options. And so that's super exciting. I think that's what I like the most about this. Like all of it exists inside of 5e already. We're just translating what 5e is. Kind of like how Wizards translated factions into the Ravnica guilds and then into the Theros Piety. They're taking their own variant mechanics, pushing them forward to become core mechanics for that setting or that adventure path, and then further making further permutations of it, like the Piety system and the Renown system, is just basically a way to measure your alignment or your devotion to an organization or a god, which is its own organization. So it's all there, and like these command mechanics, it's all there inside 5e. We just had to reframe it and extract it and pull it forward for people to be able to see it. Like these things exist in 5e. Here's what we see inside 5e for us to use, and it's both like completely innovative while being like completely obvious at the same time, which is I think the best way to introduce new mechanics. Like that's what the like in the DM's Guild link below, the 5 color mana spell point variant rules. That's what's so I think awesome about the color mana system, is like it's so obvious. Like its philosophy is so obvious, but its implementation is so easy. And that is like the definition of elegance. Like innovation with simple mechanics. And then you can take those simple mechanics and you can permutate and create like variant after variant after variant to create variety in the classes that are using the spell point, which is where the martial power system came from. It's the same idea as the color mana spell point variant rules, but it's extrapolating from it different spell casting ideas, like a different way to cast magic from those variant rules that already exist. So variant within variant within variant, it's fun. It's super cool, and that's I think what's so addictive about DM's Guild design. Ooh, this is an example of that line art. See, there we go. Gotta keep an eye out for these little joints to see where the line art, when it was black lines, fed into the external border of the piece. But now that we faded it, we can see how it was actually just pushing out into space, like just like that, just like that. Subtle and possibly irrelevant with a black background, but if I don't do it right, then I'm not doing it right. No, I'm not doing it at all. Oh my god, look at that. It looks so good. Oh, that looks so good. I think we can do more over here. Ah, that looks so good. Only about 8 minutes left. God, look at that. It's so good. Add little bits here and there. I don't want to overdo it, but I want to have some, like especially here, like where this ravine is happening. I think emphasizing the darkness and selectively adding this additional layer of darkness. I think that helps with, like Anzi was saying, like it helps with the elevation a lot. I can afford to do that here and here. I think is a good place for that. But selectively, you know, just like in these joints, just a little bit here and there, not too much. Really don't want to overdo it. I can afford to put that in darkness down there and then here. Like I'm almost doing too much already. I have to be really gentle about it. Like these creases are a great place to do that. Nipple. Belly button. Here's a good spot. Now, being selective about it, you know, like where there's deeper cliffs, I can have these darker lines. I could potentially go over this again with an even darker green stone to further push. God, I love this. God, look how good that is. Look how good that is. Oh my God. So good. God, this is so worth it. So, oh my God, so worth it. God, that looks so good. Wow. God, wow, that looks, God, so, oh, so good. Like I said, I don't want to overdo it, but there's some spots here that just feels like it's just natural for it to be there. So cool. I love this. Oh my God, I love this. This is so great. Let's see where else I can put these little twips in here. And then I'm going to come through on another layer with a darker green, darker still, and hit these lower points, and hit some of these lower points again, like the little creases and stuff where light can't get to. Do one more layer of very, very dark green, and then we'll be able to call this content. Like, that's a good spot to have some shadow in there. There. I hear you, I hear you. I'm just trying to ignore you. I know. I know. Oh, that's a good piece right there. Nice. God, look at that shit. Alright, dismiss. We're supposed to be done. No one's barking at me at this exact moment, but I'm going to have to kick out of here in a few minutes. I'm just trying to squeeze in just a little bit more inspiration here. A little bit more before I kick. Wow. That's a good spot. That's a good spot there. That's a good spot there and there. That's a good spot. That here. Just a few minutes left. I do want to text though that I'm done. Okay, that's good. Just give me a hot second here. There. And so that's putting me on a hard timer. Probably get a ping back here in a moment. and get our day started. But until she does, when she does, I'm going to bail. Until she does, I've got a few minutes here. I can flesh out these little pockets a little bit before I kick out of here. And then we'll come back Monday morning, bright and early, coffee stream. Continue on with this project. But the rest of my production time today is going to be spent off screen, working Eberron. Okay, okay. Going to come by and grab me for some grub, and then we're going to make the day happen, and then I'll have... That's interesting. I've never noticed that before. All right, that's where we're at right now, folks. What happens if I fade this down a little bit? Say to 85%. How does that feel? It feels pretty good. Liking it. All right, so that's my day. That's my stream. So it's the top side, and we're gonna have to work on the top side once we're getting really close, actually, already to being done with this bottom side. So I might mess around with the coloring on the trees a little bit to have, because right now I've got highlights going out to the tips, and the middle is dark. I think I want to go with the middle being light and then darkening out as you move away from there to have the same language as we have for the rock surfaces here. I think that's where we're heading with this. What happens if I do that? That might be a little too faint. Let's take it back to 50. There we go, man. All right, so let's go ahead and let it sit there for the day. So I will be off stream until Monday morning, 6 a.m. in Seattle time. I don't know how many hours that is. I don't want to think about it. Yeah, so we'll be back for our coffee stream Monday morning. We'll continue this. And then we'll have our Marshall Powers lunch stream on Monday from like 11, 8, like I guess it'll be like 2 p.m. Eastern time. The coffee stream is going to be 9 a.m. Eastern time for probably a 2 or 3 hour block. And then we'll have our lunch stream, which will be 2 p.m. Eastern time, and that'll run until 5. And then it's Monday night production time, so that will be 7 o'clock, which will be like 10 o'clock Eastern time, till like 1 a.m. Eastern time. So stick around if you can, and that'll be more Eberron art that we'll be doing then. So between now and Monday morning's coffee stream, I will be continuing production of the cemetery. So I'm pressing save here. I'm really pleased with how this is coming along. If you like how it looks, drop me a comment. Let me know that I'm on the right path here, that you think it looks neat, and that you're looking forward to seeing the other side of this thing, which I am really, really looking forward to doing. And drop that down. So this is where we'll be. Honestly, I think this is where we're going to be on Monday morning. I think we're going to start the color for this thing. All these buildings. It shouldn't be that difficult to do it. It's going to be a lot of clicking. So, and then, oh yeah, we got to figure out the turrets. We got these turret points here and here and here and here. Those are gun nests. So we need to put the same gun nests on this map as well, which means we may have to change some of the sizing on stuff, or we can identify these as gun nests and just have less damage per nest. Just got to figure out. I know we want to have like, well, a lot of them. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's like 12 gun points on the top side, while on the bottom side here there's only like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Jesus, there's 10 down here. So there might actually be 16 topside. I don't remember where they are. We're gonna have to take a look at that. But that's our next step. So when we come back, we'll be working on this. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks a lot for being here. Cheers.